Shannon Martin, tonight St. Patrick's Day celebrations turned deadly in Port Credit.
9 gunshots, people running, and just total chaos down here. A bunch of people running.
2 men were hit, 1 died. Tonight, police say the shooting was targeted and continue searching for the gunman. Plus,
I struggle a lot with remembering to fill in my Presto every time, so the ability just to put my credit card in or my debit card in will just make it less stressful.
a new way to pay for TTC riders, tapping your credit or debit cards. The upgrades were expected to be installed system-wide at the start of the new year. We check in to see where things are at. And
I want every teacher to have the knowledge on what the Putka is.
an educator in Caledon creates a resource for teachers and schools in Ontario called the Putka Box. More on her inspiration and the incredible response.
This is CBC Saturday News.
Hello, thanks for joining us. Just as St. Patrick's Day celebrations were underway along a busy stretch in Port Credit, gunshots rang out. 1 man was killed, and the investigation is far from over. Let's head to Lakeshore Boulevard. That's where we find our Meg Roberts tonight. Hey, Meg.
Hi, Shannon. Police were called here to Port Credit almost 18 hours ago, and there is still a police presence here. If I take a step back, you can see that there are 2 cars that are still inside the crime scene. Caution tape is still up, which prohibits people from crossing the sidewalk. And if we pan over to the businesses here, there are 2 obvious holes that have been put through the glass in the front window. Now, police closed down this road here early this morning, and it's remained closed for the majority of the day, as police say they're conducting a thorough investigation. In downtown Port Credit, green St. Patty's decorations overshadowed by yellow caution tape.
There's about 9 gunshots, just people running in chaos.
Police were called to Lakeshore East around 1 o'clock this morning, where they found 2 men who had been shot outside of Canvas Art Bar.
Both men were transported by Peel paramedics to trauma centers. I can tell you that one of those men was pronounced deceased, and our Homicide and Missing Persons Bureau is now involved.
Police say the shooting was targeted, but it's unclear what the motive of the attack was and if the shooting happened inside or out. The front glass door of the bar was shattered, and evidence could be seen throughout the establishment, sidewalk, and road.
It's very, very sad. It's a tight-knit community, and something like this, I just don't know what to say. I'm at a loss for words.
This off-duty first responder was with a friend who is a nurse. They heard the commotion and immediately stepped in to help. CBC News is protecting his identity as he wasn't authorized to speak to media.
Yeah, it was crazy. Everyone was running around trying to figure out what was happening, and me and a friend of mine just went across the street and started doing CPR. That was it.
Early this morning, police tweeted out there was a vehicle that fled the scene, but said this morning it can't confirm if the vehicle was involved. Peel police say it's looking for suspect information and is asking anyone who drove past during the time or who lives nearby to contact them or Crime Stoppers with any details.
Anytime we have any type of shooting in our community, it's extremely concerning. We're taking it seriously, and like I said, our investigators are on it.
Now, police says that second victim is still being treated in hospital. Police have not released any details about who these men are or their ages. Now, like I mentioned, Lakeshore Road East between Stavbank and Elizabeth was closed early this morning and remained closed late into the day, but it has since reopened. Shannon.
Okay, thanks, Meg. She's reporting for us live from Port Credit. Renewed calls today for better safety on transit. It comes as cities across the country are marking Transit Operator and Worker Appreciation Day. One top union boss told CBC News his union wants a national task force to address the rising violence on public transportation.
What our members are telling us and what we're seeing right across the nation is an alarming increase in violence on transit properties, on transit vehicles, and attacks on our members. Our members are scared. We fear for our lives, and we fear for our safety and for that of the passengers. Look, this is a very complex situation, and things that we want to see done for sure is increased vigilance on all transit properties across this country. But we want to be clear. We understand that that is not going to eliminate the risk and the acts of violence, but it is going to deter some. We want to see increased safety protections for our members. Things like mental health awareness training and de-escalation training. Not that we want our members to go out there and be the first responders when someone's in crisis, but simply to help identify those very difficult situations and to identify when an individual is in crisis.
Meantime, Toronto Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey sent a letter to the federal justice minister calling for revisions to the criminal code to better protect transit workers.
Today is also a day where we should renew our commitment to calling out abuse and attacks on transit workers. I am absolutely horrified by recent attacks on TTC employees. It has to stop, and there has to be real consequences for the people inflicting this violence on our dedicated public servants.
Okay, still with transit now, TTC riders will soon be able to pay their fare using a credit or debit card. The hope to make things more convenient. Right now, you can only tap on with a Presto card or pay with change. Many are welcoming the new system, but as Tyler Cheese shows us, some say it is a long time coming.
If you've been on the TTC recently, you may have spotted these new card readers. They've been installed on almost all streetcars and most buses. And Metrolinx says that rollout will be completed by the end of this month.
We've had reports that even though the new machines have been installed, they're still not accepting credit cards, so I'm going to try it out for myself and see what happens.
The open payment system hasn't yet gone into effect. Metrolinx couldn't provide an exact start date, but says it should be up and running by the middle of this year, and most riders seem to be looking forward to it.
If you don't have a Presto card, you got something else that works.
I struggle a lot with remembering to fill in my Presto every time, so the ability just to put my credit card in or my debit card in will just make it less stressful.
Transit advocates are applauding the move, but say it's been a long time coming.
This was actually planned by the TTC in 2009-2010 to get open payment readers like this, but the province forced the TTC and the city to accept Presto because they'd already sunk a lot of investment into the Presto cards for the 905 region, and it was the only way to recoup the investment.
Since then, open payment systems have been implemented in all of the 905 regions and at all GO Transit stations. But some want to see this system pushed further to benefit transit users across the entire province.
We have a transit system now that expands just beyond the GTHA. We have an entire province that needs transit support. And people should be able to get from London to downtown Toronto or Thunder Bay all the way to Ottawa and be able to use the same forms of payment.
He says the province needs to rethink how Metrolinx functions.
Is it just a regional service agency, or is it actually meant to be Government of Ontario Transit for the entire province?
Meantime, the TTC assures riders that Presto cards can still be used alongside the new payment options. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
In other news, Ontario will be doubling the number of economic immigrants over the next 2 years.
Have 300,000 jobs going unfilled today, and we do need all hands on deck. That is why we're investing heavily in training for workers and job seekers, making it easier for workers from other provinces to come here to Ontario and welcoming more skilled immigrants to our province.
It's all part of a deal between the federal and provincial governments to boost the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program to about 16,500 people this year. The minister says Ontario has already put some measures in place, such as removing Canadian work experience requirements and giving newcomers more access to training. The hope is to fill jobs in skilled trades, healthcare, and technology. The Prime Minister was in Aurora today, taking part in a Nowruz celebration. He met with members of the Persian community, and he also spoke out against the Iranian regime.
Because as we reflect on the past year, there are reasons for hope, but there's also a deep hope for change in the world. The killing of Mahsa Amini resonated around the world. It continued in the anger and heartbreak that so many Iranians around the world, living in Canada and elsewhere, have been feeling for many years. In Canada and around the world, we continue to stand with everyone who's marking and pushing back against this Iranian regime.
Monday is Nowruz, also known as the Persian New Year. It's also marked by a number of ethnic groups around the world. It marks the arrival of spring. Well, March break is almost over. So is your chance to get out and enjoy one last skate on an outdoor rink in Toronto. That's because the city's 54 outdoor rinks are set to close tomorrow, just before 10 p.m. They've been pretty popular this winter with more than 500,000 visits. After they are closed, rinks will be converted into spaces for some spring and summer fun. Think skateboarding, pickleball, and tennis. The snow has been on and off all day. Earlier today, looking like a snow globe out there, but then moments later, you know, we'd see a blue sky, some clouds too. There is a winter weather travel advisory still in effect, though, making things unpredictable out there. So we got to bring in our expert, Sophia, to take us all through it.
Classic snow squall setup, beautiful, brilliant blue skies 1 second, and then rapidly deteriorating driving conditions the next. This is a snapshot of what you just saw visually there on radar over the past few hours, and you will still be dealing with this potentially dangerous driving conditions over the next few hours and into the overnight period. Yes, making it look like a snow globe, but also like whiteout conditions on some of the major roadways. It's why we have the snow squall warnings in effect, Shannon, around the major snowbelt regions. Special weather statement out for Niagara region because of winds that could be gusting about 70 to 80 kilometers an hour as well. And then for everybody else, those meandering snow squall bands along with some gusty winds. How did it all begin? It began with the big winter storm in northern Ontario, north of Timmins this weekend, clocking up to 60 centimeters of snowfall, just beginning to wrap up. But it's that energy and that northwest flow in behind that is contributing to these meandering snow squalls that you are seeing down in much of southern Ontario. We don't have the snowpack that they do in the north. You could see a trace to maybe 2 to 5 centimeters around the GTA. And then locally in the snowbelts, maybe 15 to 20. If some of these bands lock in, you'll see a few more come down around the Golden Horseshoe into the afternoon and evening hours, and into the overnight, maybe a couple more snow squall bands to come in and interrupt those clear skies. Clearing for Sunday, but still feeling very winter-like for the last Sunday of winter, about 5 to 10 degrees below seasonal. We warm up, though, for the first official day of spring, and I'll have those details for you in the long range.
Okay, thanks, Sophia.
You're welcome.
People getting together today remembering Kiska, known as the world's loneliest whale. The event was organized by a group of animal activists. They gathered at Marineland, wanting to say one final goodbye. Kiska was the last captive killer whale in Canada. She died from an alleged bacterial infection after spending most of her life alone at the amusement park. So far, no word yet on a celebration of life or public funeral by Marineland. Welcome back. The federal government says it will make it easier for people from Turkey and Syria to apply for temporary residency in Canada. It comes after last month's deadly earthquakes that killed more than 50,000 people and left millions of others homeless.
We have implemented new measures that are going to make it easier for people who've been impacted by the earthquakes to come to Canada. In particular, we are going to priority process applications for temporary residency from people who have been impacted, specifically including family members of people who are in Canada today. We're using new technologies within our system to ensure that more of these people will be approved to come to Canada, despite the fact that there are ordinarily barriers that prevent people from around the world from coming here successfully.
Fraser also saying his department will make it easier for temporary Turkish and Syrian residents already in Canada to extend their stay. Well, meantime, Ukraine and Russia have extended a critical deal that allows grain exports through the Black Sea. The shipments are vital to countries around the world facing food insecurity. Ithil Musa has more.
Turkey's president says the deal allowing the export of Ukrainian grain has been renewed, but it is unclear for how long. The United Nations and Turkey brokered the initial pact with Russia and Ukraine last year. The warring countries have agreed again to extend the deal to allow grain to flow from the Black Sea region to countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. The critical agreement took place on the same day Russia's president made an unannounced visit to Crimea. It is the 9th anniversary of Russia's annexation of the peninsula from Ukraine, a move the majority of the international community continues to view as illegal. Vladimir Putin used the occasion to visit a new children's center and an art school. On Friday, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for the Russian leader. He is accused of being responsible for war crimes committed in Ukraine, particularly the unlawful deportation of children from Ukraine to Russia. Ukraine's president is applauding the move. Volodymyr Zelensky says it's a historic decision that will lead to historic accountability, but not everyone is convinced. In Donetsk, the Russian-controlled part of eastern Ukraine, there is a lot of skepticism. No one would dare arrest Putin, says this man. He is a strong leader. He is a strong person. They are afraid of him, adds this woman. Moscow has repeatedly denied accusations of committing atrocities in Ukraine and has denounced the arrest warrant as outrageous. Idil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
To the U.S. next, where Donald Trump is claiming he's facing arrest and soon. It came in a message he posted online that concluded with a call for his supporters to protest. The district attorney's office in Manhattan is investigating Trump in connection to hush money allegedly paid to former porn actress Stormy Daniels. Trump's message on his Truth Social platform says he'll be arrested on Tuesday. He ended the message with the slogans "Protest" and "Take Our Nation Back." And in France, more protests today denouncing the government's pension reform. Protesters setting fires to garbage containers in Paris after clashes last night. Rallies in parts of the capital today were banned. Cities across France saw demonstrations. The government pushed its reforms through the National Assembly Thursday without a vote, raising work requirements for the public pension. Protest strikes continue affecting oil refineries, public transportation, and garbage collection. Welcome back. An educator in Caledon has put together a new tool for teachers and schools in Ontario. It's called the Putka Box. Putkas are the head coverings worn by sick boys. Here she is in her own words on what inspired the project.
So the inspiration behind the box was a teacher that lives in our community. She had asked if I could help her and assist her in tying the putka on a student whose putka came off during gym. Gave her step-by-step instructions using my student, and she went through the steps with me and was able to tie the putka. I think it's important for teachers to be able to have the knowledge of tying the putka on because, again, students come with their putka on, so we want to make sure that they go home with the same putka. Having this box in the schools will allow teachers to use this resource to help tie the putka back onto the student's head. I want every teacher to have the knowledge on what the putka is. So there are two putkas. There is a craft that I designed called the Sikh Putka wood craft. Each morning, Fateh Singh selects one of his putkas from his collection to wear to school. There's a book called Fateh Singh and His Putka, and it kind of goes through a story about his chosen colors, going to school with his putka on, and how proud he is to wear the putka. So that book is in there. There is a pamphlet called What is the Putka? And then 10 steps on how to tie the putka. So I'm hoping that this box will inspire teachers, inspire schools, and students that we must respect every student that walks into the classroom.
Well, it's billed as Canada's largest St. Patrick's Day party, and it's back for its 8th year.
We're so stoked. We're having so much fun here.
Yeah, we live in Barrie, but we are from Brazil, and this party is amazing. We love it.
Yeah, we're having tons of fun.
You're looking at Guinness SPD. The all-day celebration in Toronto featured a pancake breakfast, an all-you-can-eat Lucky Charms bar, amazing, Irish fiddlers, and life-size beer pong. Organizers are expecting 5,000 people to come through the doors. The Guinness will flow all day and night as guests enjoy live music and local DJs. I would have no restraint at the Lucky Charms bar. That sounds like the greatest thing ever.
We got our after the show plans, me and
There
you,
you
Shannon.
go.
I'll pick you up on the way. I gotta say though, the luck of the Irish was not with people in parts of Ontario today, especially in the north where it has been snowing some odd 60 centimeters since St. Paddy's Day for the last 24 hours or so, and it is still coming down. In fact, it looks rather winter-like right across the province. We're actually seeing frontal bands come into the Ottawa region right now as well, only hours away from spring as well. I drove actually down from the Parry Sound area a couple hours ago through some of these white-knuckle, whiteout drives. Special weather statements and snow squall warnings all in effect for many of the traditional usual suspect snowbelt regions that could see about 15 to 20 centimeters. For everybody else to the south, you're looking at a trace to maybe 2 or 3 centimeters, not like the 60 centimeters up north that actually shut down north of Timmins, a stretch of about 700 kilometers of the Trans-Canada over the past 24 hours. Lots of white-knuckle drives, though, to the south as well, especially into the overnight, as some of these bands will reach right down to the GTA once again. Whiteout conditions and clear skies in a matter of minutes possible right up into the Ottawa region as well. And we are cold with that gusty northwest wind responsible for those lake effect bands as well, feeling like the mid-teens into the overnight period, feeling like the mid-20s towards the north. Similar conditions for a really chilly dog walk on Sunday morning if you're headed out for the last Sunday of winter. Will feel very winter-like, about 5 degrees below seasonal, but look, an amazing thing happens as we head into Monday and the clouds clear for that first day of spring, where we are actually a touch above seasonal with a little bit of sunshine. We deserve it. We've made it. It's been a big winter to cover with you and all of our viewers here at CBC, Shannon, but we have a really, I'm knocking on wood, uneventful third week of March and first week of spring. There, I said it. I think I jinxed us, though, Shannon.
That's what we want. The turn is coming. Thanks, Sophia.
Still more winter left in the gas tank, maybe.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, that's our show for you this evening. I'm thinking positive. Before we go, we got to show you some of the looks sported at this year's Comic-Con in Toronto, one of the best times of the year to be walking on the street downtown. You can see superheroes and creatures from galaxies far, far away. If you missed it, no worries. It continues tomorrow, and we're back with you tomorrow at 11 p.m.